Hello, this is old Mr. Kent of MrKent.com, and as we take off here, you can see that there's a lot of water. We had another rainstorm, and in the last video, somebody said that maybe charging the phone is what's causing the heat, and I don't know. I never paid much attention to it. So let's back up and get started and see what I did thinking about that afterwards. So here we are, I'm on my phone, and I've turned on the DJI Fly. And then if you'll notice, I'm going back into the up in the upper left-hand corner. There's the battery voltage, and it's not being charged. And so I wanted to make sure that it wasn't being charged. And then I'm going to go into the settings and come down to in the control section, and come down to, if I can just find it here, come down to phone charging and turn it on. And so now the controller is charging my iPhone. And so now you can see up there in the corner that it's charging the iPhone. The only problem is when you exit this, when you exit the DJI Fly app, then it stops recording or stops charging. So now we're going to take off, and so it's recording. I'm recording, and it's charging the battery. I'll get it right one of these days. And so in my last video, as I was, or in a previous video, somebody mentioned in a comment that have I played with phone charging? Is that what's causing my iPhone to overheat? And so, because man, it really gets warm, just even on a cold day. In this flight, it was about 47, 48 degrees outside, just like it was in my last video, where the phone heated up way beyond what it should in just about 4 minutes' time. So now I'm using the controller to charge the phone, and we're going to see if that makes a difference. At this point, I don't know if it does or not, but if the controller's charging the phone, then that gives the battery relief, and of course the battery gets hot when it's charging the phone, so maybe that's where the problem lies. But anyway, so we had a big windstorm and rainstorm last night. By the way, I just switched from, I get back to my subject matter here, I just switched from 4K at 60 frames per second to 4K at 30 frames per second, because I learned through experience that the digital zoom doesn't work when you're with the Mavic Air 2S. The digital zoom doesn't work when you're running 4K and 60 frames per second, but it does work running 4K and 30 frames per second. And a friend of mine in Portugal, Helder Hugo, he watches my videos, I watch his videos, and he mentioned that, hey, in one of the previous videos, he says you're not filming in 60 frames a second like you used to. And I did film in 60 at 2.7 K, and of course that worked on at 2.7 K. But when I got my new drone and my Mavic Mavic Air 2S, when I got it, I decided, since it's got a nice camera, I'll just film everything in 4K. You can see I decided I'd come out here, and if you look at the road on the right side, right side of our telephone poles, or power poles, that's the canal road, and that's what everybody generally uses. And of course, this is being filmed on New Year's Day of 2022, and so we had a lot of traffic on there last night, and everybody was digging digging ruts out, flooring their engine. And so now we were looking north. Now we're traveling south, and this is the road on the right side of the power poles is our county road. It needs some improvement. But anyway, so Helder mentioned that, and so then I thought I couldn't, at the time I was answering comments, I couldn't remember why I switched. But I switched because I can't use digital zoom at 4K and 60 frames per second, but I can at 4K and 30 frames per second. So I like 60 frames better, but if I'm going to zoom, which I like to do, I'm just going to have to stick with 4K and 30 frames per second. So that answers that. Now, let's go back to what I started to talk about. The night before this, I I couldn't figure out, after what somebody told me, maybe it was the phone was being charged by the controller. And so I set up my Mavic Air 2S in the like the living room area of our little shack there, and ran it, just let it sit there and run for about 15 minutes with charging the phone and from the controller, and it didn't seem to heat up hardly, and so then I turned off the charging, and just feeling with the back of my fingers, I didn't have any instrument or anything. I could tell that the phone was getting more warm. So I decided, all right, since today is sunny and shiny, I'm going to go make a longer flight, because in the last flight where it got warm in previous video, in 4 minutes time it got really warm. So this flight was a 15-minute flight, and you can see these folks down here they're going to have a hard time getting, especially if they have any kind of a sports car, getting along that road there. Fortunately, there's crossroads that they can take. To get in and out of out of their place. So anyway, after doing that, I decided I'm just going to go fly for a long time and see how much my phone heats up. And of course, one thing that when I grew up in Seattle, and when it rains in Seattle, it just kind of drizzles. It rains a lot, but it doesn't really, you never see a downpour like you do here in Arizona. So that was kind of cool. But I got to thinking, and this will be a quiz. You can answer in the comments. All right. All this rain that came overnight came in from the west coast of Mexico, and it's actually evaporated seawater. So it comes in, and it's coming in, and then when it gets into land and it has to rise or whatever, then the clouds dump the rain, and so it comes down and lands and lands on top of us. But water can be found in 3 different states. Idaho, wrong state. I'm sorry, I'm having too much fun flying this drone. So a solid, like ice, a liquid like you see here, and also as a gas, and it's called water vapor. And so you got 3 states of water, and so I'm going to ask you, and you can comment, and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. Anyway, what is the natural state of water here on Earth? Just a simple question. What is the natural state of water here on Earth? And so, because when I was in Seattle, we got rain a lot, and that was evaporated ocean water that came in from the west side of Washington State, about 100 or so miles away. So anyway, when we first moved in here, and I saw there was water in that big puddle behind us, I thought, where does that come from? And so then, as I was out flying my drone, just trying to see if I could heat up the cell phone, I thought, I'm just going to follow this and see where that water comes from. Because at first, when we moved in, I thought maybe they pump it in there. And of course, I learned that's not what happened as time went by. And you can see they don't have any cattle back here. If you've been following my channel, they moved them out for the winter, I guess. And so this is, I'm just following the trail of the water, and it just comes up here, and all the rain that falls on this area up here actually just gets funneled down this little path, and also the rain that falls next to the canal up there, it gets funneled down this path. So it kind of collects up there next to the canal, and then just comes on down into that little puddle that we saw back there. So anyway, I'm getting near the end of my flight, and so I'm going to go and find out whether or not it heated the phone up or not. And as a matter of fact, when I landed and I took the phone and put my hand against it, it was just as cool as when I took it out of the pouch in my before I started. So charging the phone from the controller gives the battery a break and keeps it cool. And so I learned that, and I'm just sharing it with you, and hopefully that'll help. In the meantime, I want to thank you for watching my videos, as always, and God bless.